this. So welcome to Executives, and I'm your host, Dr. Steve Taubman, and this is our 27th week into our show. This is the first one that we're doing with a video component to it. And I just want to thank you all for your comments and for sharing about the show. And now that we're live on Facebook, you can definitely feel free to pop on here and offer your comments and share some thoughts, or give us a like or a thumbs up or whatever. Jeff's with us. Hey, Jeff, good to see you, man. So it's really nice to see the community building the way it's building. Hi, Carla. It's a pleasure to see you here too. So a lot of good friends are showing their faces, and hopefully we're gonna have a lot of fun here today. As I said, this is our very first Facebook Live interview for the Executive Zen show. So it's a really great thing, and I'm particularly excited about today's topic, which is reframing reality. Reframing is a huge concept that we talk a lot about in the work that I do and the work of my guest, and that's going to be a big part of our topic today. I learned about reframing first from Tony Robbins when I did the firewalk with him way back before anybody else really knew who he was. I think I had about 150 people in the room with me and Tony Robbins, and we walked on hot coals together, and it was profound. And since then, I've continued to learn more about this through my training in hypnosis, my training in NLP. Anyway, our guest, Mat Shaffer, is an expert in this area. And if you are an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you're going to really get a lot out of it. The mindset mastery of this show is going to rock your world, and I can't wait for this conversation. So first, I just want to provide a little context. I've been, as I said, swimming around in the waters about reframing for a long time. And of course, hypnosis is one of the tools that we use to help people to reframe or to reconceive their reality, to see things differently, to get a different sense of what's true for them, so they don't immediately default to their habitual way of thinking about things. We all think of a certain way, and we think the way we think is the right way to think. And the reality of the matter is that in almost any situation in your life, there are ways you can shift the way you look at it, and in doing so, shift the results that you get. So that's really where we're going with this. And I wanted to mention one other thing before we get going here on this, before I bring Matt on. Okay, a couple things. First of all, my new book, Buddha in the Trenches, I just recently was on the Jenny McCarthy show. It was a great honor to be a guest of hers. And when I was there, I made an offer to her audience. And what I did was I created a web page to let people get a free sample of my newest book, Buddha in the Trenches. And I didn't take the page down, so it's accessible as long as you know where to find it. So I'm going to invite everybody who's watching this, hey guys, to take a moment when you get a chance and go to my website, stevetaubman.com, and then /Jenny, Jenny, and that'll give you access to a page where you can download a free copy of my the first 30 pages of my book, and also access to the mindfulness quiz. So that's a real important thing to get a hold of. Anyway, back to reframing for a second. We see things a certain way. We think that they are that way. In my work as a hypnotist, I've had the delight to watch people instantly reframe things in their lives. And I'll tell you one story, and then I'm going to bring Matt on with me. In my hypnosis show, the way that we do it is that we spend a little time at the very beginning, putting people in hypnosis. We talk a little bit, we bring people up, we get volunteers, and then we go through an induction where we induce people into hypnosis. In this particular case, I was doing a hypnosis show, and I was doing it on a gym floor. It was always in a big gym. And there was a janitor pushing a giant tray, those pallets of metal folding chairs. He had it on wheels. He was pushing this big tray of metal folding chairs across the floor of the gym. And in the middle of my induction, right in the middle of putting people into hypnosis, the chairs fell over and exploded on the floor. Huge, loud racket of a sound hit the ground, and of course all these people have been saying, and you get quieter and you breathe more slowly and more calmly, you start to become more and more peaceful, and then bang, this huge explosive sound. And without skipping a beat, I said, and as you hear the sound, the loud sound around you, it takes you even deeper into hypnosis. And they did go deeper. Moral of the story is that when we hear a loud sound, our natural default mechanism is to think that's disturbing. But is it? Or is it just an interpretation we've made? Is it possible that we could completely change the way we look at things that are even uncomfortable, unpleasant experiences, the things that we're averse to, loud noise, bad smells, whatever it is, boring teachers, can we reframe those situations in such a way that we get value from the experience and even use them to propel us to a higher level? Anyway, that's what I'm curious to talk to Matt about today. So if you have just stumbled on this show, first of all, thank you all for popping in. I've got some more people showing their faces here, and it's so nice to see you all. And as I said, this is our first Facebook Live interview, and I apologize for the kind of lousy video positioning here. I can't really make it look the way I want it to look, so we're just going to have to roll with the punches. But I'm going to reframe that and tell you that because of the fact that my video is askew and you can't really see me well, it's going to make you even more attentive to the concepts that we're going to be sharing here today. That's a reframe. All right, so real quick recap for those of you who are joining us now. We actually had a botched starting attempt a moment ago, and we're not going to go ahead and take this all the way to the very beginning. But I want you all to know that I'm sitting here with the amazing Mat Shaffer, who is a friend and colleague. He speaks. He's a transformational coach and speaker. I have the good fortune to work with him. We'll be sharing the stage together at the Habitude Warrior Conference. And I was mentioning all the awesome, wonderful things about our what we both get to do in the world, and that we get to do it together at this point, and that we're both big time dog lovers, and now we're here and we're ready to rock and roll with you guys. So Matt, hello, my friend.
What's up, Steve? Good to be with you, brother. I love the way your mind works. I love your content and what you're up to in the world, and I'm excited to talk about reframing reality and what's possible for us in our lives if we can do that, effectively. What's up, Gufran? How you doing? Come on, some more people are jumping on. Hi, guys.
A buddy of yours there. I'm glad to see that, Reframe. And I've got some family joining us too. Joan, my stepmom Joan is with us as well. So this is fun. Mm-hmm. warm and fuzzy. And we're talking about reframing. And as I said before in the initial thing here, reframing is a concept a lot of people aren't that familiar with, Matt. But it's such a vital part of the work we do as coaches, as teachers, as speakers, is helping people to understand that their interpretation of reality isn't the sum total of reality. So I'd love to, you heard me do what I call my pre-ramble before I got everybody else on board here, before I got you on board. Feel free to correct me or.
No, man. I agreed with everything you said earlier, and really what it starts off with, guys, is really starting off with the concept of context and interpretation, right? Like, we operate out from a context. Like, there's a context in which everything is coming into our lives, right? And that context, as far as I'm concerned, is the beliefs, right, that we've created consciously and subconsciously, right? So the context is like the lens through which everything comes in, right? So an event happens to you, like, say, you go on a date, right? And the person shows up 20 minutes late, right? And the context that you're operating from is, your father was chronically late because he was having an affair with somebody, or he was emotionally checked out from you. And so the context you're operating from is that, when people are late, it's an indication that they're selfish and they don't care about you, and it's a sign that they're a bad person or whatever. And so then that creates, then you have an interpretation, right? There's the context, which is the background of your life that everything's coming in from. And then the interpretation is, the story and the story that you create about it, right? So then your interpretation of that event is going to be that this person is a selfish piece of crap, and he's not worth your time, and he's dangerous, and this, that, and the other. So you have context, and then you have your interpretation, and then you have the behavior, right, that you do based upon your interpretation. So it's like the first part of reframing is to recognize the context through which you're viewing all of the context through which you're taking in all your information, and being willing to let go of that. Because if you can't, you're never going to be able to shift the interpretation that you're having, the things that are happening to you in your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really clearly explained. And I think that, first of all, people are reluctant to take responsibility for their own context. because they're so used to living inside of it. It becomes it's the water to the fish,
Yeah.
right? A fish
Yep.
is swimming in
Yeah.
water, water is all around me, but I don't see any water. Where's there water? There's no water around me. My beliefs are all around me. My interpretations are all around me, but I don't see them. All I see is that jerk who showed up late,
Yeah.
right? And so the entire experience is 100%, you know, an external responsibility. It's something that that somebody else did to me that created this experience for me, and I've got no breathing room, and if I'm not sufficiently mindful of my responsibility, then I'm like completely powerless, right? Then I'm completely at the effect of everything else. I'm a victim of the world, and I could live in the complete state of victimhood, thinking that you know I'm powerful. Like you could have the delusion to think I'm powerful, I'm cool, but you're letting the world, the experiences dictate your reality based on all the context you're bringing to it.
Absolutely. And I love what you, hey, Ross Jeffries, Ross Jeffries, feel free, guys, if you have any questions around this subject, if you're reframing your reality is something that's a big stretch for you, please let us know. We'd love to talk about it. Ross, please chime in. Ross, I'm sure, has a lot of stuff around this. Oh, he's got to go. Bummer. All right. Well,
Oh, well, it's nice to have you, Ross, in
So,
spirit, but in
so
event, he's the ultimate
what?
arbiter conversation. So.
Yeah, right. He is. But Steve, the thing that you said there that I thought was really that I really liked was connecting the concept of personal power with the concept of context, right, and interpretation. Because I feel that our greatest, and this is something that is highlighted in one of my favorite books, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, like our ultimate power is our ability to choose, right, our context and our interpretation for our lives, right? Like we have a choice. We feel that we're water to the fish. We're the fish in water, and we can't, see the water. Whatever. Like we have a choice every day about the context that we choose to operate from and the interpretations that we choose to make around our life. And we can't, because that's the thing. We can't change anything else. We cannot change, for the most part, the stuff that's happening around us. Like a lot of it, right? But we can always choose how we choose to interpret it, right? And to change the context through which we see everything, because like what happened to us in the past, we can't change that, but we can choose how we change to look at it, and that's the basis of reframing.
First, you remind me of the Gurdjieff quote that says the first step for escaping from prison is knowing that you're in prison.
Yeah.
Right? You ain't gonna escape if you don't know you're in prison, and we are imprisoned by our context, right? We're imprisoned by it. If we don't take ownership of it, if we don't take mastery of it, we don't allow ourselves to escape from the one interpretation I'm making about this. This person's lazy. That person's a pain in the butt. This person, and so we've got this entire set of beliefs about everything that's going on around us, and the content can be interpreted through any number of lenses. But as long as we're seeing the content and context through this frame, through this context and frame are essentially the same thing.
Yeah, it's same. Yeah, well,
through this frame,
just using a different word.
So I'm looking at it through this context. I'm seeing it through this frame. I'm the one who is living inside of this frame. I believe this frame. Therefore, I'm putting everything that happens to me through that frame. Therefore, I'm having these results, and I don't know I'm doing it. I don't know that I'm in jail, because I like the visual of that. Because you think of a frame, it's almost like it's a jail cell, right? I mean, and I don't know that I can pick this frame up and move it over here, but it's a little bit differently. So how do you start?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you start helping people experience a dawn of awareness that, like, oh, my life is stressful, and maybe it's not the content of my life that's causing the stress. Maybe it's the context or the frame.
Yeah, maybe it's me.
Where does that?
So the first step, I mean, I work as a senior trainer for Habitude Warrior International, and I'm blessed to be facilitating workshops with these concepts all over the country. And I also work as a private coach for people, right? And so like the first step that I do go through with all of my clients is to help them understand and cultivate the self-awareness around their context and their stories, right? Like, what's the context from what you're operating, and what stories have you constructed around the people and events of your life, right? And so once you have that initial awareness, you've already like disengaged from them a little bit, like, because they're no longer just your reality, right? They're these constructs that we can work with, right? Like Gufran's asking, how do we unlearn our beliefs, right? So the way to unlearn them is by consciously choosing ones that are in alignment with who you want to be, where you want to be, and what you want to create in your life, right? So once you acknowledge and you identify all this crap, and you have to admit to yourself that it's not working for you, then you say, okay, well, if this isn't working for me, what would work for me? What would my life look like if I had everything that I truly did want? You know, what would my life look like if I let go of the belief that all men are scum, or that, you know, I have to struggle to be successful, or that, you know, like, life has to be hard, I have to be broke, you know, money is only, being rich is for bad, right? That you can. What happened if what would my life look like if I let go of all those stories and just fostered and created a life that I wanted, right? And once you create a new vision for what you want your life to look like, then you get to start adopting and choosing beliefs that are in alignment with that, you know? But unless you chart a new course, unless you pick a new target and get out of that autopilot, because we haven't chose a lot of our beliefs in a lot of our context, right? Like Gufran's talking about this, like our beliefs, like this stuff is stuff that we've just accumulated and we haven't even realized that we've internalized it all. So you shut down the autopilot, you pick a different, and then you just start adopting beliefs. And it takes, I'm not going to say it doesn't take time, right, Steve? Like this stuff, this is deep work, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of rewards are profound, right? If you can really like do the work and heal your stuff, right?
Well, what that brings to me is two things. First of all, there's time, and there's effort, and there's courage. Right? I think that courage is a big part of this, because you have to be willing to challenge your own usual way of looking at things, and also be able to face all the ways in which your old interpretations have created your reality. Like, what, you know, how much harm have I put in the world? How much damage have I done in the world by being intolerant or by being impatient? Like, how much harm have I put in the world? And to see it and be present to it, that's not fun. You know, our default is to just accept it, and it's the way it is. So, very cool.
Truly, and I mean, in my own, just to give you from my own personal journey, the big, like, we get I think we get addicted to these like toxic patterns that we run in our head. We get addicted to them. We get dependent on them. Like, something I realized when I started doing my own deep inner work was that I had become addicted to my pain. I had become addicted to the story of all the things that I had, and how they would have killed anybody else. And so I was predicating my self-worth over overcoming the suffering that I had overcome in my life. But I wasn't looking ahead and being like, so what would my life look like if I wasn't suffering? I was preoccupied with feeling like a sense of worth based on overcome, which was creating a dependency on that suffering that I had overcome. It was really weird. And so a big part of me was letting go and realizing, like, I'm not defined by the fact that I overcame drug addiction, or the fact that I walked away from being a lawyer and walked away from a restaurant. That doesn't define me. It's part of my process, but it isn't who I am. Who I am is what I want to create moving forward, right? And that shift in perspective from being defined by my past to being defined by what I choose to create moving forward was for me the reframe that shaped the rest of my life to this point.
Yeah, and I could absolutely relate to that. That's really been my journey too. It's like the willingness to let go of the past, being willing to embrace the future, to not define myself by the way I've defined myself. And what you said that was so powerful is it's an addiction. We get addicted to our own view of who we are. It's like, this, I've always been this. You know, I just did a talk yesterday for the Obesity Medicine Association. And these were, you know, doctors who deal with patients with obesity. And I was talking about the mindful practitioner and mindful eating, and the challenge that people face who are chronically overweight, or chronically, you know, have poor impulse control and things like that. And the thoughts and the voices in their own head about, I could never be thin. This is just who I am. It's like whenever you say this is just who I am, that's a red flag, right? Oh, that it's never this is just who I am, unless you decide to let that be just who you are.
Yeah.
It's never that easy, right? But being responsible enough to say, I can change, I can face some of the discomfort I'm going to feel when I do change. That's where it happens, because there's always discomfort.
Yeah.
Like if you're an alcoholic, you're going to go through withdrawals. You're going to have to withdraw from it before you feel freedom. And your choices are like, if I don't want to feel miserable, I could just keep drinking, because if I keep drinking, I'll never have to face the pain of not drinking, right? But that's a temporary thing. The other
people take the devil they know
a whole life.
Yeah, they take the devil they know or the devil they don't, right? I mean, and it's crazy, like, and it's one of those like really mind-blowing things that if we can let go of all the things we thought we believed about who we are and what we're here to create and what's possible for us and what's not possible for us, and we adopt new beliefs that are open-ended, because this is the other thing about beliefs, is that they can be like bars on a cell, right? Your beliefs can just shut us down, you know? So how about instead of allowing our beliefs to pigeonhole us, like I can make, X amount of money, we adopt a belief that there are possibilities available to us that we can't even comprehend, right? Like I couldn't have comprehended the life that I have now 5 years ago. I couldn't have adopted a belief, like a closed belief that was encompassing it, right? I had setting like, really concrete, like, this is who I am and this is what I do. I just made a choice I just said, I want to change the world using the power of my voice and my experiences. It wide, right? And by reframing and setting a really broad, powerful intention over who I was and what I wanted to create in the world, I didn't like lock myself in, because I don't think we're capable of understanding what's possible for us, consciously. I think we can at a higher level, but I don't think our conscious minds are even really capable of understanding the possibilities available to us. And so you got to be careful about the beliefs that you choose to do, that make sure they don't lock you in as you're adopting new ones.
So a couple of things. First of all, the idea that our beliefs are not fixed. Our beliefs are not, in and of themselves real. And the first belief we need to change is the belief that our beliefs are real. That makes sense? First, you have to believe that it's possible to change your beliefs in order to take the next step. So that's the first thing, is like our beliefs are not fixed. Okay, now I've at least adopted to the belief that maybe my reality isn't exactly the way I think it is. Maybe I can choose new beliefs. And then the second thing is, what does it take to change your beliefs? If I've been believing this all this time and I'm aware that my life isn't going the way I want it to go, and I'm willing to accept, at least provisionally, the idea that maybe the reason it's not going the way I want to go is because of those beliefs. It's not content. Right? I say fix the mood before you fix the mess. Fix the inner stuff before you try to fix the outer stuff. Right? So if I can believe that, and then I say, okay, now I've got to change my belief. The thing is, how do I change my beliefs? Right? I mean, because my beliefs are sustained by my evidence. My evidence is sustained by my beliefs. It's mind-boggling. It's like, of course my belief is right, because everything I read says it's right, but that doesn't take into account the fact that the reason that I see it the way I see it is because of the belief, right? So all men are bad. All men have been bad to me all my life, right? But it's true, because all men really have been bad to me all my life. Yeah, but is it possible that the all men are bad it's like chicken and the egg, right? Is it possible to get off that merry-go-round, right? That if you literally had a different belief, would you have a different experience?
Yeah, because when we have those beliefs, we're consciously or subconsciously going to seek experiences to prove ourselves right? Because our ego is continuously looking for ways to validate the beliefs that keep you in the place that you're at, right? Because egoically, we're fundamentally resistant to change, And so really, like, being willing to let go of all that stuff and step through our fears into a space of possibility is really the only way to truly transform, you know? And that's a process that requires courage, like you said, courage to face your fears, courage to step through them. It requires hard work and consistency, because sometimes this shit is very deeply ingrained in our head. And so, like, when I first started identifying and unpacking my beliefs, I mean, they were rattling around in my head thousands of times a day. And it would take me 100, I'd have to stop 100 times and acknowledge that is not true. You know, I really thought at 30, coming out of my restaurant, that I was a failure and that my life was over and that I was done at 31. Failed career as a lawyer, failed restaurant owner, everything. Even though I walked away willingly from both those things, I made up a story that I was a failure and then I was done, right? And I had to, it took me months to unprogram that belief. But as I did, new opportunities opened up to me, right? And so that's the process. Like, as you let go of these things, new things come in. But you got to create the space for them to occur, or else they're just not going to be able to materialize for you, you know? Give yourself room for new experiences and new beliefs to come in.
I like to say,
stopping the old ones.
I like to say, don't believe everything you think.
Yeah.
Don't believe, because that's where we get lost. So humility is part of this also. I've got to have the humility to say, just because that idea popped into my head, just because I think I'm a failure doesn't mean I'm a failure. It just means that, hey, Anya, it just means that I'm used to telling myself I am that. But don't believe everything you think. And then, as you said, I think just the commitment, just the willingness to say, maybe I've been looking at this all wrong, is the first step toward changing beliefs. Just the willingness to, provisionally, maybe I'm wrong. What if I'm wrong? What if this thing I've been saying to myself isn't true? So I think the what if, the question mark, is a great place to start. I talk, because I'm a hypnotist and I do a lot of transformational work around the subconscious mind where our beliefs live. Right? And I say, to change your beliefs, Matt, if you want to change your beliefs, there are 3 tried and true ways of getting rid of negative beliefs. Right? So one of them is affirmations. Right? You just keep repeating a positive statement to yourself until you believe it. The problem with that, of course, is that you're pushing an uphill battle, right? Because every time you say something good to yourself, it's like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. And then your subconscious mind says, bullshit. It's cool. I so appreciate the wisdom that you're bringing to the conversation. We're talking about, first of all, recognizing context, recognizing that the frame you're holding things in has an impact on what you see and how you see it, and then what you do as a result and how successful you are. And then the idea that first, you got to wake up to that fact that, number one, before you could get out of prison, you have to know you're in prison. You have to realize that you've got responsibility for the way you're seeing things. And then, if you do know that, then, changing your beliefs, noticing the things that you're doing that are ignoring you, and then picking methods that'll help. And I think the way I want to really leave it today, and we'll most definitely, you and I plan a time to do this again with better technology. But I think what I'd like to leave it with right now is to talk a little bit about how exciting it is to do this, because I'm very aware of the fact that suggesting to somebody that if your life isn't working for you, that you're responsible for that you could change your beliefs, and that, guess what, that means a certain amount of work and a certain amount of courage and a certain amount of humility and a certain amount of practice. That's true, whether you like it or not. So that may sound like, oh, I've got enough crap going on in my life. Do I also need to have to be responsible for it? Just like one more thing to have to do. But what I want to echo here, and what I'd like to leave us with, is how awesome that ultimately is. Right? How amazing it is that you get to do this, that you get to have the responsibility for yourself. And so talk about that. I think that would be a good way for us to answer. So, like, what is it to take charge of your life? I don't know. What does it ultimately look like?
You're still there, but yeah, for me personally, and I can say this for me personally, and also through the people that I've worked with, what existed on the other side of all of my fears and all of my stories and all of my bullshit context that I had created about who I am and what I was capable of, I mean, is more exciting, more fulfilling, more expansive, and greater than anything I could have possibly imagined, right? So it's their work, right? What's available for you on the other side of all of your stuff is more profound than anything you can possibly imagine. And the cool part is that the more you do, the deeper you go and the greater things open up. So even now, where I'm at now, I say even now as if I'm some ascended person, but like even now with years of work and years of layers that I've peeled away, I still feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of what's in my life, you know? And so I just invite you, because here's the thing, it ain't fun at first, I'll tell you. For most of us, it's very painful for us to let go of these beliefs and context and interpretations that we become addicted to, like literally like heroin addicts, to these and it's like our comfort zone, you know, and we're prisoners of it. But what's possible for us on the other side is so beautiful that it is worth the discomfort and the tears and the release and the surrender of all the things that we thought we were, you know. It's worth it. And there's such beauty waiting for you on the other side of that, you know. So I invite all of you to just jump into the process and start doing work. Read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if I were to do a challenge, I know Steve likes his guests to do a challenge. My challenge for you this week is to get the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, read it, and take 2 or 3 takeaways from that you're going to adopt into your, and the principles within it will transform your life. It's a short book, it's an easy read, and I think it's one of the most important that exists that's ever been written in the 20th century. So that's my challenge for you guys. And
that's a great challenge.
Whether you know it or believe it or not, it's I think it's a good one. You know that book, right?
Oh yeah, very well.
Steve?
Can you hear me? I'm here. Yes, I know the book. Okay, so
I can hear you. You've been frozen up for like 5-8 minutes.
I see me. Anyway, let's just hope that I'm coming across on the other side. It's so mysterious to me. In any event, quote for the day: "Every problems we would not grow." Tony Robbins said that, and we've had our share of problems here technologically, but we're going to grow from them. I thank you all for being part of this. I also want to suggest to keep the metaphor of the frame, right? We talked about the frame. Live your life understanding that you're carrying a frame around with you, and take the responsibility for moving that frame in different places. If you're not getting the results that you wanted, your perception of life isn't serving you, reframe that reality. Change the way you see it. So, Matt, before we wrap here, how can people reach you?
Well, there's a couple different ways. My website, matshaffer.com, TSHAFFER.com is a great way. I am, accepting probably maybe 1 or 2 more personal coaching clients right now for basically for the next 12 months. So if you ever want an opportunity to work with me, I'm very good at helping people make shift happen in their lives. You know, that's my passion. That's what I'm about. So if you're ready for change, talk to me. And let's talk about what it looks like. Also, Habitude Warrior International. Guys, we do incredible workshops all over the country. We're doing one in Washington, D.C. Steve and I will be on stage there. It's going to be amazing. That's going to be in the end of October. Go to habitudewarrior.com, habitudewarriorinternational.com, and you can check us out there. We're also going to be in Houston on November 9th or November 8th. That's the event that I've been building down in Houston for the past 2 months. It's going to be huge. So if you're in Texas, if you want to come check us out, we're going to have a beautiful event in Houston in November. So check us out. Let us know if you're a speaker. We'd love to possibly, explore what it would look like to have you on our stages as well. We're always looking for new, incredible speakers. So holla at me. We'd love to connect with you.
Matt, thanks so much. I appreciate your time today and your wisdom. It's been a lot of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, remember to tune in next week. Share this story, these shows with your friends. Subscribe to my podcast. Visit me on iTunes. Find my channel, Executive Zen. I'm Dr. Steve Talbot. Have a great week, and remember to lead consciously and profit responsibly. Matt, Over and out. Thanks, man.
Bye, Steve. See ya. Bye, guys.